Good morning, everybody, or as we say in Brazil,
Bom dia.
bom dia. Listen, this is going to be a very special show. It's going to be a very special series of shows. We are in Minnesota. We are in the war room. This is one of my best friends on the planet, Ronie. Ronie, we're going to get into very briefly his backstory. And I say briefly because you and I can talk forever.
Yes.
We can legitimately run out of Facebook Live to talk. So I'm going to go through a few things first. I'm going to tell you who this person is, why they're so special to me, and what we are going to do in the next couple of weeks here together. And
Awesome.
It's going to be great. So number one, this is the Ask a Painter live show. I am Nick Slavik. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It is a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades, almost 3 decades of experience in this trade as a craftsperson and a business owner to basically, it started off as asking questions. Now it's relaying deep thoughts that we have. The things that I struggle with, I skew towards the show and we talk about those things. It's kind of a fun thing as we grow businesses, we progress in the craft. This is show number 280, which means I've been doing this show 280 consecutive weeks without missing a week. We have actually done this show from Brazil.
Wow.
Yeah, and we are going to do this show again from Brazil very shortly. Ronie is a very interesting guy. I'm going to give you the brief synopsis of who he is and what we're going to do, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper to throw some color on it. But the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, Ronie actually got involved with the PDCA before it got renamed. The first time Ronie ever came to the United States was for a PCA function down in Savannah, Georgia. We arranged to have you do a culture exchange with us. We had already gone to Brazil. We had already laid down this great groundwork, and we wanted to give you the same treatment that you gave us in Brazil. So we came to the PCA Expo in Savannah, and we had you as a special guest of the entire expo. How great was that, man?
That was very special. Knowing the challenge we have to go through becoming a professional painter in Brazil and having the opportunity to represent somehow the trade of professionals in the country, bringing a bit of organic part in the process in that year was priceless. It was just priceless.
Yeah, so the look on your face in Savannah, Georgia was the same look I had in Brazil, which was amazement, delight, sheer bliss, just so much fun, man. And the people, like, it's cool, right? Like, we got different trees and different animals and different plants, but that's a novelty. Like, that's like, oh, that's interesting. But the people, man, the people make everything. So the same look on your face in Savannah was the same look I had in Brazil. And yeah, we're going to go deep into that. But let's, I bring up the PCA because they connect people like you and me from around the world.
Yes.
One of the first things I'm going to ask you when we start this show in a little bit is how we first met. And if you can remember, please let me know. But the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, it used to actually be called the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America. It is not of America anymore because we want a farther reach. We want to meet the Ronies and the Julianos, which we're going to talk about a little later too. It's a big world out there. And if we just say America, that doesn't include Canada or Mexico or Brazil or any of that other stuff. So if you are interested in anything we talk about today, if you are interested in the cultural exchange that we're about to undertake in the next 3 weeks here,
Yes.
the PCA is for you. Us paint business owners and master craftspeople in the United States like to think we're the best, we're the most curious, and we've exhausted all resources to make ourselves the best. If you have never been to Brazil or talked to any Brazilian pintors, you have not exhausted all your resources. The reach of the PCA goes beyond Minnesota and Nick Slavik and even Ronie being here. It is the great connector of all things like this. And it's almost this weird little dog whistle where, you know, the dog whistle is a thing only dogs can hear. And it only attracts certain kinds of dogs. The PCA is that. It attracts a certain subset of certain craftspeople. It attracts Ronie from halfway around the world. And yeah, so it's a cool thing. If you like anything you see here, I would look into the PCA. There's actually a commercial forum going on right now for commercial painting companies. You can be a residential painter and go to those things too. There's great minds. There's people that run big old businesses there. Another thing you can do is get involved with the expo. The expo is coming up. Ronnie's been to one. I've been to multiple. In March of 2022, we're going to Florida, and it'll be a big one because it will have been 2 years, 24 months since we met because of the global pandemic. So we are rare to go. I just found out that I am going to be presenting at least one, maybe 2 topics at the thing as sessions. So
there's Brazilians watching you and telling you bom dia.
Bom dia. Obrigado. Thank you for everything. We'll see you soon. So Ronnie's got his stream going here too to connect to all his people. So I won't belabor it. The PCA is awesome. It attracted people like me. It dog whistled to me, and it dog whistled to Ronnie from halfway around the world. We're like-minded things. We think about family the same way. We think about the profession the same way. We think about business the same way. It goes across all boundaries, and we're going to basically prove that to you over the next couple of weeks. So here's what's going to happen, Ronnie. You are here. You got here late last night. I dropped you off at a Victorian mansion to let you sleep, and it's a bed and breakfast, and you woke up this morning and you were delighting me with tales of chocolates and strawberries.
That's so awesome. Awesome.
I feel like you were taken well care of last night.
I was telling Nick that how interesting is the sensation, inspiring sensation. For example, the smell of the place from where I've been used to work, and
you've been mentioning the smell a lot, and the interesting thing is you're going to run into a few common smells here. My kids actually talked about this. God, we're going to go off on so many tangents. We're just going to be all over the place. Okay, I am a fan of historic homes and salvage woodwork and old stuff. That desk behind us came out of a 140-year-old home. That's the oak that they framed the house out of. The owner ripped it out. That wood could be between 200 and 300 years old. It has a smell.
Yes.
This room here smells because of that. This is solid white oak. It smells because of that. We have all sorts of little bits of historic old house parts from 150 years of life. They take in the smell of humans, the smell of events, the smell of atmosphere, and then they don't ever give it all up. That stool, you were just, where's it, the wood stool? That's 80 years old. Some old piece of wood that did that.
It's amazing.
The house that we just showed you, all of the trim and doors are historic. They came out of a schoolhouse and then a neighbor's farmhouse over here. 150 years of tobacco smoke and cooking food and people living and the windows open and the seasons changing and wood fires and coal fires, and it's the smell, which is interesting because one of my kids last night said, hey, I recognize this smell. Where did I smell this before? It's like, you are the weirdest kid on the planet because you know the smell of 150 to 300-year-old wood that got pulled out of a house.
It's very special.
And you've been mentioning smell since you got here.
Yes.
And I have a feeling it deals with this time of the year, which is one of the most beautiful smelling times of the year. It's early fall. You can see the leaves changing. It's a little bit damp, and our woodsy smell comes out. And they're harvesting crops around us right now. And so yeah, you mentioned smell, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been through a lot of subjects. Which one do you like me to go into first?
So here's the deal. I'm going to guide this conversation, and I'll probably come off as pretty rude because I got to keep us on track.
It's fine. Yes.
So here's the deal. Here's what's going to happen. I had to go through the smell thing because that was a very unique thing. You came here last night. We're putting you up in a Victorian mansion. Now we're going to move you to an Airbnb in town here over a cool little farmhouse market right on our brand new Main Street. You're going to stay here for a week. You're going to live and work with me. I'm going to show you exactly the inner workings of the business. You're going to be on leadership team meetings. I scheduled some estimates for historic mansions for you. So we're going to go see those in St. Paul. We have a new house that one of the last new houses that I painted myself that was built before I exited the field and ran the business. We're actually going back there to inspect it and do some more estimates for the clients. So you're going to get to see a house that's 6 years old that I touched every single part of, give or take, and we're going to get to see it again.
This is awesome.
And the homeowners are great. Leadership team meetings, we're going to do site visits. We're going to take you down to our shop, our training facility. We're going to get you on some job sites. It's going to be a blast. And then next weekend,
yes, it's going to be our turn.
Yes.
Our turn. Yes, okay, talking about
we go to Brazil.
The Brazil, or even before, the Brazilians. I think before you as a team of PCA should start thinking about a short future term of calling painters contractors of Americas.
Yeah.
So there's a bigger field out there, and there's a lot of knowledge involved. If I would describe the Brazilian painters in one word, would be resilience.
Yeah.
The resilience. As the
I
challenges.
would throw in passionate as well.
Yes,
They're very passionate.
yes. And when we talk about these feelings and throughout the challenge that we have to go through, and then I look to the painting finishes all over the places around and see how straightforward process are, and it's really interesting, the changes and the different cycles of the painting field we have. And talking about this, I don't know if I'm getting this wrong, but my entire life as a painter, wherever I go, I'm fulfilled by sensations. So I have to smell, this smells new paint. This hasn't been painted a long time ago. This goes natural, organic, as one of my students said. So every time I pass by, even unconsciously, for people not to look at me as so boring, that this guy is so annoying. So
it's an inside joke, and our families are probably sick of it, right? Because everywhere we go to a restaurant, what do? You're looking up at the cut lines.
The trips.
But it's the problem is, if that's not already in you, I don't know if you can create that. I think that I see, because in my company, we have a whole bunch of people who have never been in the trades before. My people have that, but I think they always had it. They just see it through the lens of a master craftsperson now, and they key into certain things, where if my life was devoted to plumbing and I brought in all these people, I bet you they would notice plumbing. The people who had that inside them would take that filter and apply it to plumbing as well too. I think it's a biological thing. You have that or you don't. That excites you or it doesn't.
Yes, you know? And what is interesting is, as you said, the Brazilian professionals, they take this personal, in a way that...
Sorry, there's a huge hawk flying around out there. Oh, look, he's chasing this little hawk right here.
Really?
Sorry.
That's like
so cool. That's so cool. I thought it was a bald eagle. I thought, how American, a bald eagle flew by right by Ronie. So.
That's pretty nice. I think we are supporting building a new era of connections.
Yeah.
We as you said, we've met over social media.
Yeah.
And Giuliano said one time, okay, I started conversation with Giuliano. I met Giuliano when I was working in Senai, and I knew that Giuliano was an influencer and working hard to try reach some steps about this. And said, listen, we got good connections, Giuliano. I think it's going to be a matter of time for us to get together and make stuff. Say yes. He was still in that time in they call Movimento Brazil. Remember, with the
absolutely
stuff like this. Yeah, he was working with that plan, and after that situation, so he introduced me to the group, which was nearly 60 or 70,000 60K people at that time. Now it's 166,000 people plus. Oh my goodness, it's rich.
Which we're going to get into in a little bit.
Yeah. And then I was looking over the internet stuff, and then I saw some posts from you. I said, oh, an international guy. So I speak English. So there may be a possibility. So I see there's a possibility of reaching. And then I reach you, say, hey Nick, my messenger, remember? And I know you don't.
I should actually go. It's kind of fun. Like Facebook Messenger is this weird receptacle, because I've been on Facebook for 10 or 12 years, and you can just, if you scroll back far enough, you can go back to the first Facebook Messenger message I ever sent, and my first Facebook post ever. And that's my recollection of how we met too. I should lay down a little groundwork, because you aren't just some random guy I met on Facebook that showed up in Minnesota. There's a poster on my wall right there that the beautiful people of Brazil made for me. It is a black and white portrait of me. It's all in Portuguese, and 5 November 2018, I was in Brazil for a presentation, and you made my first trip to Brazil happen. Completely changed my life. It changed the way I think about family, about business. It changed the way I think about paint sprayers. I take a lot of things for granted working here. You know, everything's cheap, everything's plentiful. There's lots of good people. We have lots of freedom. We can do whatever the hell we want.
Yes.
After going to Brazil, it's not that I went and saw a bunch of poor people. It's that I saw the passion in the pintors there. That they love it way more than any American does.
Yes, this feeling involved in the process is, I think, make this passion. There's some professionals in Brazil that they even show up in the internet, and they are very wealthy. They go smoothness. It's I'd say smooth in the process.
We call it, and I've done this in my life too. We call it martyring ourselves, which is basically you kill yourself and you sacrifice yourself for the trade, the craft, the life of this, and that's healthy and unhealthy at the same time. It makes you excel to great heights, but it also ruins your family life, and sometimes it can leave you without any money. So you always have to keep that in check. But you made Brazil happen for me. I am indebted to you for a long time. For the rest of my life, you could argue. Our first Brazil trip, you allowed me to connect, and you allowed me to connect with all my favorite people in Brazil, except Juliano. We didn't get to see each other the first time. But all the people I met, Ivan, Lucas, all the rest, I just walked you through my office. There's half a dozen things here from Brazil, from the people that gave me stuff. We have a wood statue here. We have a paintbrush trophy. We have a bottle of liquor that I drank. I smuggled back and drank.
This is very special.
This stuff means I know you know it means a lot to me. I don't think you understand how important it is from somebody who came from here to see that and then see the passion on everybody's faces. You made that happen. We've been talking.
Remember Joel in our lecture in Senai? He came and hugged you as a kid.
He came in
with tears on his face. Remember about this?
Joel is one of the most beautiful humans I've ever met. He was late to the lecture because he had to take bus and car and bus and car and bus, and he was breaking himself, working all day and breaking himself. He ran in through there, and I was presenting. He ran up and gave me a kiss in the middle of everything there. This is the guy that I knew from Facebook. No American has ever done that. No American is that passionate to basically break themselves all day, bring gifts for me, get on 17 forms of transportation, show up in the middle, and legitimately be like, finally we get to meet.
And I tell you something special about this. It's not because of even Nick Slavik himself, but it's the person that you represent, which makes the entire difference. Seeing someone, and we look to the North America, on top of that, and at the same time on the same continent, at the same time so far, and have someone coming down to our country or field or home, as a continental sized country, talking the same language, having the same feelings, willing to share your experience. We don't purchase experience. It's not written on books, so you have to go through in life. And this is what makes the entire difference. And listen, he's touchable, okay? And we hear a lot of stories, folklore or not, yes, as simple as it is. And these people is just there, and there's these divisions and these walls and this ethic and stuff related to all this stuff.
The one thing that I was very careful not to do, because it's not me, it's not genuine, is I didn't want to arrive with an attaché of people who sweep me around and take me to places and quick, get a photo with Nick and move on. No, I wanted a genuine experience, and I don't know if I could have been paired with a better friend than you, because you are super outgoing. You love other people. I tell you a lot about Minnesota all the time. You are both scary and beloved to the people in Minnesota, because people are taken aback by, Ronie, he looks you right in the eyes and he talks to you. You are the life of the party. You are not afraid to get involved with other people and make things happen. You also learned my life story, and you told it better than I could. When you went, you got so sick.
Contextualized.
That's the word. So it's interesting where everywhere Ronie and I went, we kind of had to give my life story, and people were really curious. I would get their life story, they would give mine. Pretty soon, it used to be one of those things where I would be very careful to give 2 really concise sentences, and you would translate. And pretty soon you were like, Nick, shh, you just stand over there, I got this. And Ronie would go around and tell the whole life story and everything. And it's like, he did it better than I did.
And when we talk about the resilience of the Brazilian professionals, it comes throughout this way, because we have many shut down doors in our faces in many circumstances of the trade, regarding to the government stuff and working among all the professionals around. And say, listen, I went to my place in the sun as well, so I want to have this opportunity. And going out of this, that's why I don't even say happiness, but I feel joy. When I tell you that I work, 12 to 14 hours a day, sometimes I know it's not healthy, but I want to build a legacy around a part of anything that comes as a consequence of the budget or anything related to this.
We're at the stage of our life where it is time to put the seeds in the ground. This is the time. We don't want to be doing this when we're 70. the time is now. We have energy, we have young families, we have the time. Let's do this. It is go time, man. And what you're doing, setting this up, Brazil happens because of you. If Ronie isn't here, this doesn't happen. You know, I'm not a guy to get out there and shake a bunch of trees and make fruit fall from them. Like, legitimately, Brazil #1 was because of you. And this is because of you. And when we leave this next weekend, it's because of you. And I am eternally grateful for that. And this is going to be a really interesting time because the last time we did this, it's basically just like, so much new stuff, just trying to take it all in and get memories and pictures and everything. Now, I'm keyed in. I'm looking for some very specific things. I know exactly what I want to do, how I want to do it.
Next level,
yes. Next level stuff. I want to build upon the last time there. And I think this is going to be a totally unique experience. And the reason we're doing this is we want people to know about this profession. Yeah, it's tough, right? Because like Sherwin-Williams Brazil is making sure this trip happens.
Yes.
You're making this happen. That's fine. We're going to take a bunch of pictures. There will be things. You're going to see some paint, and there's going to be other stuff. That's awesome. We're going to do a great job. When I think about the true value of something like this is, #1, we need to get more people excited, inspired, and into the trades into the United States. In Brazil, I feel like you guys have a ton of people there. It's good to know that the world is connected with you, and the plight, the friction points, the stress that your government and other things are put on you, we get you. You're not alone, man.
Yes.
Like, you have it worse than a lot of other people, but we're with you. We're all the same people all across here, and you know what? There is going to be a time where the connections that you make here are going to be leveraged to help the Brazilian painter in a big way. I mean, even if it's just equipment, there will be a way where we can get sneaky, we can work our processes, we have lots of power, lots of connections, we can make things happen. And I really want the Brazilian painters to know that, you know, nobody looks up, nobody looks down upon anybody else. I am in awe of the passion and the interest that the Brazilian painter has. I look around at, what you could largely say the pretty privileged and entitled painters of the United States. Like, there isn't one day that goes by on Facebook where somebody doesn't say, I just can't decide between a Titan 440 and a Graco 390. The Brazilian painter, what's their biggest question? I would love to touch one of those in my life.
Yes.
In my lifetime, I would like to touch one.
If I can split in 48
pavements,
smooth pavements throughout a never-ending life, yes, I'll make this happen.
Now,
with the interest of twice as the price, yes.
We have to be really careful to explain and contextualize the Brazilian painter. We joke around about the sprayer thing and the equipment. I checked an entire checked bag last time I went to Brazil, loaded with Purdy stuff.
Yes.
And the weird thing is, you had to teach me a specific way to get it down there. I actually had to get paint all over it. There's probably $1,500 worth of tools and equipment, and I had to go dirty it up, because if it all came new, your government would have pulled me aside and said, what are you doing with all that? You gonna sell that? Are you bringing that into our tariffs?
50% over the gross price of everything.
So it's an amazing thing when we talk about, the Brazilian painter would like to see a sprayer or touch a sprayer. It's not because they are stupid or broke. It's because the government makes it almost impossible for them to get these things.
The system is not supportable as professionals.
Let's give them an example. Like right now, if I called up my Sherwin-Williams rep and I leaned on him hard, I said, listen, I want an embarrassing low price on a Titan 440 or a Graco 390. I bet you I could get it for $700. And they'd throw in a whole bunch of tips and all the accessories and the gun and the hose, $700 US. That same sprayer, Graco 390, Titan 440, what would the US dollar equivalent be in Brazil? Would it be 3,000?
Around 3,000.
That's a number that the painters always tell me. And we're not talking about 3,000 reais. We're talking about
US dollars.
700 here, $3,000 dollars. The same thing. The same Titan 440 would cost you $3,000 in Brazil.
Taxes over the taxes, plus the profit of the retailer and all this stuff. Freight, yes, all this true.
I want to hit these guys with some stats, because all I heard before I went to Brazil was, we have it so hard down here. The government's oppressive. Well, you talk to people around here, they say the government's oppressive.
No.
So I'm like, listen, we're all in the, I
That's
get
the bubble.
it.
That's the bubble I'm
it.
talking about. Yes.
But I learned a lot of things. The one thing that amazed me the most, I looked around to all my favorite people in the industry, and they are basically single person companies. Like I don't know a lot of people who have 30-person companies. We know Fernanda.
Yes, Fernando has some, and he has a company with paying the taxes. I tell him, if there is a successful painter in Brazil, it's Fernando. Fernando said, Ronie, don't spend your time telling me this anymore. But it is. Yeah. I wouldn't be the way he was, paying the taxes properly, following all the strict rules, especially about having labor, having professionals, hired professionals for this trade. I got a lot of proposals to create companies in Brazil, but I always step back because of two main things: human resource,
the legal side way.
I would never go through this. Listen, I wasn't born for this purpose, and I'm not able. If you come with the money, but the money won't solve the problems itself. And that's the situation of most of the things. So I started working on my own, and then I went to the field of apprenticeship process, and I went all this life through, which was a bless in my life. But I feel these people as heroes. We know two cases. We have many successful cases of these people who have been throwing on the war there. Yeah. Some situations they even say I'm not. How do you say? I'm just fine to talk about this. For example, they have people hired for a minimum wage, minimum salary, and then they pay them through overtimings or production rates, which is come based on the law. Much lower taxes involved in this, and these are some ways that they use based on the law to make the thing happen.
The thing that I didn't understand, because I came to Brazil basically saying, listen, I'm connected with thousands of painting contractors in the United States, and they're all complaining about the same thing that you guys are. I get it, whatever, but when we go down there, the availability of equipment is not what it is here. When you can get it, it could be 4 times as expensive, at least. And that sprayer is the example. The thing that bowled me over, every one of the people, minus a few Fernando and Fernanda, who have employees, everybody else is a single person painting company. So I was really curious, why don't you guys just get some employees? You guys have this great reach, you're really good at this. I was told time and time again that there is a 100% employment tax, or thereof, which is basically if you hire somebody for $1, you basically owe another $1 to the government. And that rate is so oppressive. I know it's not perfect, and I know that I don't understand Brazilian employment tax law and the structure, but time and time again, all I hear is that the burden that's placed upon having an employee is so great that it's not even worth it, basically.
Yes, it's just a basic as it is. And that's the biggest challenge. If there would be there's two main things, and there's the organic part involved in the process, which are the professionals. And if the professional doesn't feel comfortable anymore, he leaves the company, and easily by any tip against the paper, he sued the company. And this goes, for example, here I read some stuff in some parts, some moments, some heights, that for example, if you want to sue a company because of something that you worked for, you have to have strong reasons, arguments to make this happen. In Brazil, it changes very differently. There's a lot of gaps between employers and between employees. Some employees create some special circumstances to make this argument happen. Some companies overwhelm, let's say like this, with the employees too. For example, I'm a true witness of this. I could sue 4 or 5 companies that I've been working for with all these strong arguments.
Does the government make it very easy and side with the employee and that sort of thing?
It's been changing, but yes. So if there is, I don't know, if he worked an overtime one time, he got paid. But even he went to sue the company because of his overtime without papers and stuff, even agreement by hand, he got some stuff about this. And that's the point. I was tirelessly, many circumstances, working in verbal agreements or even not to make this stuff happen for the company. And sometimes with no payments. I've worked many times in this way. And I found lawyers, listen, let's go through on this. You go and say, listen, what about my reputation? If I make this one happen, okay, I have this amount of money that I'm going to get from this. And what about the rest of my life? We're talking about the past. And what from now on? I prefer, I've heard, I told you this before. This works for me now, okay? Ronie is not an angel, But I've been taking my decisions when I woke up from life in many situations. And what I did is, I've heard an expression from a friend. He said, Ronie, never burn your bridges.
Yeah.
And I kept these bridges, wherever I went to go. I told you about Sinai. So we're going to the headquarters. They have 4,000 employees plus. They know me by my name.
Wow.
You know this. What this means?
That's huge, man.
You know, they set up all times. One of the managers says, Ronie, while I'm alive, you can come back anytime. You'll be employed.
Sinai is it's a trade school, but it's a series of trade schools. They have places it's a series of colleges.
It's maintained by the industry. 1% of the paying slip salary comes to support the industry.
And it is one of the most impressive. It's not just a whole bunch of big trade schools where they teach all construction and things. It's one of the most impressive organizations I've ever seen. Like every single person I met there was impressive, and I was like, why are you doing this? It's like in America, you would never be the teacher. You would own a huge company, and you'd this and that. And it's absolutely amazing to me that the humans. It was so inspiring, and we should probably talk about your backstory. So, just so people understand, I interacted with you when you were an instructor at Sinai. You taught painting at a trade school.
Yes.
Which is like fine. We complain that we don't have that here in the United States. So one of the big reasons, the big question marks was, it's not like, hey, I can't wait to go see all those complaining poor painters down in Brazil. No. In many ways, you guys are doing things, you're more interested in painting than us. You're more connected. You said there's 166,000 painters on one Facebook group. Our biggest one is maybe 50 or 60, and those are outliers. You guys have trade schools where you teach painting. We don't. I'm very interested in that. So when I came down, I was there trying to get some damn information so we can do some of the things that you guys are doing.
Yes, it's pretty interesting, and at the same time, I'm sorry if this is the word I can use, but disturbing to my brain. Understand how such a developed country doesn't have a structure of apprenticeship process for the industry.
Yeah.
How? It's in our concept, my bubble, okay, in my Brazilian bubble, how doesn't a country with such a development technology and this human resources doesn't have a government structure or an industry structure about providing the labor, your own workforce? Where does it come from? That's the question.
Well, but it's really interesting because we actually do have that stuff, but it's only for labor unions, and the labor unions only do commercial and industrial painting. No residential stuff. So I have arguably a very robust apprenticeship program with a facility and a syllabus and goals and a training method and a trainer and a recruiter and all that other stuff. I went to go get my apprenticeship program certified by the state. There are painter unions that have great facilities. They have world-class training.
This is amazing.
But they only do commercial and industrial painting. So I went to go get my thing certified, and they said, listen, we can certify you, but there's no government grants for it then. We give government grants to the other people, but not for you. And so right now, two things have happened in the United States. We're experiencing what some people call labor shortage. I don't actually believe it exists. I just believe we're not doing the things we need to do as business owners. My father's generation of I want to be kind. I like my father. I like my father's generation of contractors. You know this town. You got in here last night, but you get a feel for what we are. We're farmers. We're manual laborers. We own small businesses and things like that. This is what we come from. We have a rural upbringing. My father and all his friends were contractors. Concrete, landscaping, roofers, carpenters, home builders, things like that. My father's generation, God love them, did a horrible job of making this look good. My dad and a lot of his friends are old grumpy dudes who would scream at young people. And, fine, I'll just do it myself. And then guess what? Young people aren't in the trades now. And at the same time, you used to be able to go to a painting and a wallpaper school. I lived in a time 10 years ago where you could still go to a school down in Georgia and learn how to wallpaper. That is not, listen, there probably is somewhere that will teach you how to paint and wallpaper, but there's not a technical school. There are 30 technical colleges in this area. Not one of them has a painter, a wallpaper, a finishing trades sort of thing. You can go for a little bit of construction management. You can go for all that other electrical plumbing. It's because these programs dried up because people like my grumpy dad were scaring all the kids away. So the kids weren't interested. The schools didn't have the demand.
There's no demand, yes. That was
demand. So the interesting thing for me is that what the United States suffers for, Brazilians have a pile of, which is passion.
Mm.
You guys are
Which
way
is the
more-
organic part of the process.
You
The DNA.
can't.
The
The
DNA.
hardest thing to manufacture is the interest.
Yes.
You guys have the interest. The easiest thing to fix is the paint sprayers and the brushes and the everything else. I would look upon the Brazilian painting industry for the little scratch of it that I know and say, you guys might be better off than us. Like, yes, there's some oppressive things going on, but if I had 2 problems to choose from, getting my hands on paint sprayers and brushes, or inspiring a generation that doesn't even know we exist and may even think we're horrible people, I would take the damn tool problem.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, that's why I'm so interested in this thing, because I hope you guys understand that the power and the benefit and the value of that interest you guys have.
Yeah, let's say there might be a graphic, huh?
Yeah.
There was this labor workforce that working in the US sometime, and Brazil has happened the same. Then came with this generation of shouting and stuff and scaring people around and say, listen, this is a trade of man, pursuit, make this up. No, hold on. And now, so it came down to a level which was on red alarm, red light, and said, listen, we gotta go up. And what we're doing now, I told you that in my trainings, by my instructor, sometimes I get too emotional. And
Oh, really? That's not like the Brazilians I know.
And I have been learning from this as well, you know. But what has been making the changes in my life, especially from people who say, Ronie, you're not gonna make this. You know why? Because you're just same as the others. Yeah. And I kept this, and I promised to myself, I said, listen, if God allows me, I will make this change.
Yeah.
And I will have this thing through. What is the consequence of this? I told you, 50% of my apprenticeship program is based on my story, my life story.
Yep.
When people get inspired and seeing you a witness of something that happens in a good or a bad way, say, listen, it works. I have a friend now, I wanted to bring him for our training, our stuff there in Brazil, but he's just in south part of Brazil. He trained with us. He did some trainings about painting and decorative paintings, and then plastering work, covings, and all this gypsum stuff. He got his company, and he started doing some work successfully in the place where he was, in these condominiums, as I said to you, this place. He's thankful for me. He said, Ronie, I don't know what to say the words to be as thankful as I am now. I became a professional on the trade because of you. I didn't teach him anything, like everything, but I gave him the seeds. He planted the seeds, and he made the tree. And this is what we're talking about. Nick, I think we might not even see the true results of what we are trying to build in this generation. We might die, but we have to leave this legacy. People must understand. You still find professional painters from the trade, nationals, locals from here, okay? The place I've been working right now, we don't even have this. So we're trying to build the idea, not even the practice of professionals yet. But I realized that this history or this lifetime opportunity that we're taking, it's once. It has to happen now. Otherwise, this tiny little bridge, which is already cracking, it will fall.
I don't think we're gonna die before we see the results. I think it'll be fully realized, probably after our generation, but it'll be pretty easy. I mean, I was saying this 5 years ago, that 10 years from 5 years ago, we would have looked back and said that's when it all got started. And it's sort of coming true, which is 5 years ago is when everybody started connecting on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and all this other stuff. And I think we've taken the last 5 years and we've been building this crazy web of interconnectedness. And it used to be just some painters in Minnesota. And then we connected with the guys in Boston and California. Then all of a sudden we're in Brazil. And then all of a sudden I'm talking to Dominic Crowley in England. And you're just like, well, it's connecting and it's
spreading. It's spreading naturally.
And it's like we're hitting a critical mass where the teeter-totter will tip. And we've been going along at a pretty steady pace, Somebody starts a painters group on Facebook and there's a couple thousand, then tens of thousands, and now it's 50,000 and 60,000. And once we hit a critical mass, this is going to be way easier. So I think it'll be another 5 years. It depends on how the economy goes too, because right now a lot of people are having trouble finding people to work in their companies. And yes, it might be a generational shift. It might have been the result like my dad scaring them all away. Or the economy might just be so good that our labor force is largely employed at good jobs. So all it would take is for the United States economy interest rates go up, unemployment goes up, the housing market takes a crash. I mean, all of a sudden there'd be a whole bunch of more people in the market. So I don't know if it's a generational shift. I think there is a little bit to that, but I also think the economy is so damn good. People can have their choice of jobs, and they do right now. So it will change eventually. So I don't want people to think that this is the end all and be all, but it's good to have a larger perspective, larger than your own economy, larger than your trade, larger than everything else. So one other thing that people should know about you, I'm probably going to butcher this, but you are such a good instructor, and you understand.
How do you know this?
I'm going to say it right now. The results speak for themselves. Like, listen, I'm biased. I've seen you with students in Sinai. Like, you're world class at this. And the thing that I keyed into was your empathy, which is, like you said, you teach with your backstory. You talk about the human stuff. You talk about their backstory. You understand that it's not necessarily about brushes and putty knives and plaster and things like that. It's like, fine, that's the things we do, but that's not it. It's human stuff.
Yes.
Also, there's a thing called the World Skills Competition, which is basically the Olympics of the trades. There's auto body painters and technicians, there's painters, there's carpenters, there's everything, right? The United States kind of doesn't participate in the residential painting portion of this stuff, probably because we think we're too good or we don't know about it or whatever else, But you are such a good instructor. The United Arab Emirates poached you from Sinai to be their Olympic team coach for the World Skills.
Yes.
Yes, Ronie, that's a huge thing. You are such a good instructor. An Arab country came and took you and moved your family to Abu Dhabi, and you're teaching an Olympic level trades team.
Yes, this is
Ronie, it's amazing, dude. You know how many people in this world have that experience? 50.
Yeah.
There's 50 people in this world who have that experience. You were hand-selected by an Arab country to be poached to teach their team. That's amazing.
Yeah, this is priceless. Remember, I think it all began with that sensation not to break the bridges. And I tell you what happened, okay? I went through 2 different selection processes to go.
Yeah.
Everything started with a friend of a friend who knew Ronie as a friend. Connections, the bridge. And he said, okay, send me your curriculum and your stuff. And I sent, before you coming over to Brazil, I did my first interview and I didn't go through. So yes, they said,
wow,
no,
I didn't know that.
And I argue with my boss, my actual boss now. I said, this is not Brazil. I said, okay.
Wow.
Halas, remember this halas? Done. And okay, I said, life keep moving, and I have my try. At least I tried my best, and I told him, one of the things that I told him was, I want to go to make a legacy in your country, and I want to help you spreading this on your schools. And that expression wasn't well accepted in that moment. What are we doing right now there? We are spreading our skills throughout schools and universities. Exactly this. And we never talk about this anymore, but it clicked, okay, in the moment. So I had my second interview, and it was very technical, and it was on my field. So talking about sandpaper preparation and stuff, and technical stuff went fine. But behind all of this was this concept of not burning my bridges. And he asked me about HR, Human Resources Department. He asked me about 3 different references, from background references. And one of them, I should mention, from a country abroad that I have worked in Ireland as an immigrant.
You've worked in Europe.
And listed, yes. And there's something. And the last company I worked for, I worked like crazy. I was spraying stuff where Brazilians, 90% of the Brazilians didn't even know what air was. I didn't even post a picture about this before. Yet, still. It's all there kept. And it was very tough work, because we had schedules all over in English, so time to outcome the timings and running. We have 22 kitchen doors, oak, PP oak, all this stuff. I said, how many hours? I said, I don't know. So do one, calculate times 22. Times 22, yes, times 20. Production manager, was Irish, very kind person. I love with all my heart. So, and it was tough, but I told him, I will not give up. And I did. By the end, the manager, the owner said, listen, you were the best painter who ever crossed this path in my life. I cried. By the end, Nick, so we're in 2020, 2019. After 11 years, I contacted him back. And I said, listen, thank God you're alive. You're alive. I have a request. And I need you, I'm going through a support selection process. And I need you to recommend me, you, my label, as clear as water as I was. I said, Ronie, send me the context. I will do this with all my pleasure.
Wow.
So this was a life change. I won't say because I cry all the time and all this stuff. Because
awesome.
that's organic. But it happened this way.
Yeah,
so when we talk about this, it makes me remember that I didn't sue anyone in the back. So I kept all the green bridges, all this stuff, because it's everything connected. And all this stuff that happened this way. So now I told you that I would have a dream. I was used to dream a weekly basis when I left Ireland, knowing that I was leaving Brazil one more time. I'm not saying that Brazil is a nightmare. Brazil is I told you, we throw things on the floor, on the soil, and it grows. It's a blessed place. It's a blessed ground.
Amazing.
The system doesn't work perfectly. It has support. It is, okay, but it doesn't work perfectly.
There's difficulties.
And yes, exactly, as everywhere. But it's a bit tougher.
different.
Yes, a bit different. But it made me think that I wouldn't like to live in that bubble anymore. And that decision made my change. Man, I came from a place that my mother was used to work for 45 years for $200 a month.
Wow.
To raise us. She never had holidays, paid leaves, any benefits, zero. And she worked with joy. I was used to tell her, leave this. She said, Ronie, who are you to tell me this? You know what's everything behind? How many toilets I have to clean not because of you to throw in my face, but said, listen, to have the joy to bring you for this stuff like this. And that's why it's so personal. And for example, now I have the opportunity to support my mother in a way that I do with joy that I cannot explain. So when I go there, I make sure that my students from a very, very rich, wealthy country understand that the life behind all this. And then by the end, I teach the painting. And I have friends. I cannot say much about this culture because it's very strict, but I have friends in a way that very people have there.
I know what you mean.
I have not pictures, but messages from Facebook and stuff from them where they tell me, I say, Ronie, stay safe, go back to us. In this way. You know, so you gotta people coming out.
So let me kind of round out this conversation and bring this thing to an end here, which is, yes, we're going to Brazil. It's going to be awesome. You're going to spend a week here. I'm going to get as much information from you here, with the sneaky angle of trying to get you and your family to come live here and do this with me, because I care for you a great deal. Now, whether you follow through or not, that's one thing, but I'm going to make a great argument over the next week that this is the place for Ronie Santos and his beautiful family to come here. Now, the winters is going to be a problem, right? Like, we got to get over that whole winter thing, but
we'll do a special agreement.
Listen, that's an easy thing to overcome. If you think the difficulties in Brazil are bad, this is not one of them. So we're going to Brazil, and we're going to be doing something very special, which is a close friend of mine, a close friend of yours, Giuliano Alcantara. Arguably the most famous painter in the world, the most connected painter in the world. I don't know another painter who has the following, is connected with more people, and is looked up to almost as a patron saint of the craft than him.
Yes.
And we've been talking for years online. We missed each other last time. The main thrust of the Brazilian trip is you, me, and him.
Yes.
Teaming up and doing stuff. And Giuliano he stressed to me early on, I want you to come here to paint with me and my painter friends. And that's what we're going to do.
Yes.
He wants me to feel his life, and I want to feel his life.
This is going to be a true consequence of what we have been building this.
Yeah.
I don't absolutely... I can't even think, like, when Giuliano started this idea, it started with an idea, and then it came with the logo of this stuff.
The movement,
Yes, the movement, and all this stuff went through, all the situations that went through, and he kept on his focus. there's good and challenging stuff on the way, but he's in there now, and he's in his spot. And what he's doing now is just collecting back what he started to, which was the idea, and the ideal. Okay, he changed himself. He wasn't used to work with boots, safety shoes, and stuff. He changed everything because, as you told, I saw one of the posts that you said like how challenging it is to lead by example. It is. We have to polish ourselves in many situations. We help people to form opinions, and in this situation, Giuliano has been a true model in this circumstance now, and working in this situation, we're going to have a unique. I told Giuliano since beginning. I said, listen, we fought a lot in a good way.
Well, listen, I should say this. You Brazilians are a little fiery. You guys always, every conversation comes to some wild head. It feels like there's an argument, and then there's tears and hugs, and at the end, it's just like, I love this. This is not like my Minnesota people. I get such a kick out of how passionate you guys are about everything. I love this.
No, this is awesome. And having this organic part, this DNA involved, now they're realizing, I mean, the class, the trade itself, especially those connected to networks and stuff, about there's the passion. And then Nick Slavik with the trade of Americans, or this well-developed system that you have helping develop, which is the business stuff, knowing your numbers, together with the passion and your history, and you get all this bunch. And if you have this in a mixing of balance, man, you become a professional of the future. And that's what we were talking about, Nick.
I think we can actually affect some change. I think if we need to put as many Ronnies, Giulianos, Nicks, Jason Paris's, Jason Millers, Lucas Vitor Bischoffs out there. We need to put as many of these people out in front as possible to let people know what's possible out there and how the deep satisfaction that we feel about this. Listen, it's going to be a great life. There's going to be things in your way. There's lots of things in the way of the Brazilian painter.
And I tell you something very special on this. It happened to myself many times, okay? We Brazilians, many, not all of them, some of them are very high-level professionals that I can't even think about this, hidden behind the social media.
Never heard of.
Yes, truly. You can sell your passion, but then the client, because the final sell of this is the client, which is the bridge for you to paint their walls and to throw the paint on the walls. If there's not them, nothing happens. That's the business stuff. You sell your story or you sell your passion, and then you don't know your numbers. You don't know how to estimate, and you don't have a way to
make any money and support your family.
Yes, that's the stuff, and there's missing gaps on this true connection, which is these basics. And sometimes they don't know how to present themselves, how to introduce themselves, you know. And these are things that we have the passion, but in this there's some technical stuff, and then there's some we call soft skills. The person should behave as, or demonstrate. That's the word, because should behave is a pattern or is a standard. It's not just this way, but it demonstrates such a behavior in this way.
Professional.
Yes.
You got to be a professional.
Yes.
And it can be learned. I think when people see an example, it's really easy to do that. And I don't think there's enough examples out there. I mean, God knows there's plenty of people on Instagram and Facebook that are examples. I don't think there's enough. I think we need more. So
multipliers. Yes, multipliers.
So when I look back at Brazil 1 and now look forward to Brazil 2, I really think that there's not a specific thing we're trying to solve or do or accomplish. It's more of just get it out there. Let people know that this exists and that there's people who care about this deeply, and you're not alone. Like, you may feel you have all these problems, you may feel like nobody cares as much as you. Guess what? Tons of people out there who do. You just don't know where they are, or who they are yet. And once you feel that you're part of that community, you're going to go out and act professional. You're going to act differently than when you think you're this pirate on a little pirate ship doing your own thing, solving all your own problems. So, yeah, I feel like if we can walk away from Brazil 2 with just people, like, if 50 more painters that were never connected got connected and started getting curious and following all the United States stuff, the Brazilian stuff, that's 50 more people that might all end up being Jason Paris's, who end up employing 100 people each. Like, that's a force multiplier. That is a beautiful thing.
And so that's really the big change we're talking about. That's the big change. We're talking about a behavior now. It's a behavior. once you are convinced as a human being, you're convinced that this is going to bring you benefit and you can become as a mirror for somebody else. That's what we're talking about. So this is one like the Spider-Man, and it spreads all the information. Yes, that's what we're talking about. For me, for example, as I told you, when I went to Ireland, I knew 4 words in English: mother, father, help, and water. But I promised to myself, listen, I will make this happen.
Yeah.
And I suffered a lot of humiliations. But I had a goal. Yeah. I had the point to. I'm still doing it, as I told you.
Of course.
There's the place to go. And having this opportunity, as I told you now, being here with you and all this stuff going through, it's priceless, because we're building something. It's not just showing up in the internet. No, there's something deeper behind this. We have families. We have people to be inspired by us, our children, and this generation to be proud to be a painter or anybody else in the trade. But that's one of the paradigms. I don't know if this is the word in English, but this is that we're breaking. Yeah, you know, exactly. My son now, he understands. I think I will be a good painter.
Yeah.
And listen to him, not forced by, and not just having. I'm not saying I'm finishing my university degree as you did now, and I have much more prosperity on finishing this right now because I knew where I wanted to be. Yeah. You know, and building this and knowing that what I'm doing is just not bringing colors to the houses, but I'm covering the home of a whole society in a way that this is the place where you put your body to rest. And when you look around, look at the importance of our profession. Yeah. And by the end, the clients must realize about this and give their value.
Oh, it's so moving. I'm joking. No, we're in complete agreement. We'll close down the show, but this is going to be a fun week. It's going to be a fun... We're going to Brazil for 2 weeks after this, and it's going to be a blast. So,
yes.
Look forward to pictures, to videos, cultural exchanges, and I hope I get another poster. I like that.
Yes. There's something I would like to mention before. Yeah. When you invited me for the first time, I told you this before, it's very nice to make this clear, and you invited me to come. And I said, no, you should come to Brazil first.
Yeah.
And we make the shoot of the stars. Yeah. Let's say like this. And before this, Felipe, Filipinho, he said throughout, he said, Ronie, you need to help me convince those who sit in the bag of money.
Yeah.
So listen, we have to convince them that it's worth it to bring this American over for something. Yeah. And with 30 seconds, they say, listen, turn out on the seconds. 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds. Beep, 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 beep. And I had to give this in a live conversation in a loudspeaker there. Yeah. And I throw the words. And I tell you, there were four. 3 of them, they said yes. And 1 of them said no. And this manager who said no, few times later, he was fired. Not because of us, but it happened. I knew it later.
That's hilarious.
It was a curse. It was a curse. But it happened. We had people who truly believed in that project. It was just ideas, as you said. So Felipe,
it wasn't just a plane ticket where I just showed up and did stuff.
You could do this, no problem.
The work that was put in, the itinerary, the lectures, the gatherings, the events. I mean, there was people like at one of the Sinai campuses. They made this crazy home cooked meal, all the stuff that I grew to love since I was there. And it's just like the thoughtfulness that got put in. It wasn't just I showed up in Brazil and then we just wandered around. Like it was like a foreign dignitary showed up and the red carpet was rolled out in a very interesting way. I mean, we were over at the campus, the head of the campus's house, churrascaria.
Yes.
I mean, like the party that everybody showed up, and I mean, you gave me probably the most authentic, real. It wasn't a horse and pony show. It was like this is real. It's as real as it could have got, and with the most genuine people doing the most genuine things. And I think I walked away, I think you agree too, that I got a really good feel for what's going on. It wasn't fake, it wasn't weird, it wasn't stood up in any way. So,
and that was the seed, that was the cell of that project. So they made this happen in a way, and they made sure to take care of you in a way with dignity.
Yeah, it was
yes, and that was special. Remember when you Ernst and I in that first lecture, and you turn your back and all the people,
yeah,
wow!
yeah.
And you weren't expecting this. Maybe you said,
I was
oh,
not expecting
and
that.
the tears and the sweating from the eyes
Yeah,
came through. I said,
somebody was smoking a cigarette in the
happening,
back of the
man?
room. There was smoke in the air. I got a little teary-eyed.
But
so.
this is what I'm saying, the sensation that the body comes from, in a way that's it. Listen, there's something inside that we don't even know ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what I expect, to bring this hope to people. They say, listen, we can be different in a way that we can change. People don't change, but I mean, people can upgrade, you know, these challenges from life.
Yeah.
And this is what I expect. In the middle of this, we have the trade, which we become as a consequence. But we're talking about organic process from itself. Imagine that it could be added for every profession we have. This would be a lifetime changing for many people all over the world. And this is it, yeah.
It's going to be awesome, and I cannot wait, because now, I mean, listen, if I'm being perfectly selfish, I know what foods I'm going after this time. I got my hit list, man, and
Fasting. Be fasting now.
I cannot, I'm looking for the feijoada, I'm looking for the pau de queijo, I mean, and
Sugar cane, we're knowing sugar cane is.
Oh my God. Anyway, okay, this could go on forever. It is family time. Normally we do this show much earlier, but I wanted to give Ronie a chance to sleep in, because he had, one of his flights was 14 hours.
14 hours.
One of his, from Abu Dhabi to Chicago, was 14
Doha,
hours.
Doha, Qatar.
Sorry,
Qatar.
yeah, Qatar. And so I wanted to give him a chance to sleep. I'll check some questions. Well, actually, let's go through some questions, and then we'll round it out here. So, oh man, thanks everybody for watching, especially on a weird time here.
Tudo bem, pessoal. Nossa senhora. Foi legal, viu? Tudo bem, Carlos? Tudo bem, meu querido? Certeza, nós vamos estar no Brasil, viu? Valdelise, tudo bem?
Já
tudo bem, minha querida? Beijo no coração pra vocês, oi, mãe. O povo tá tudo aí. Renato, grande abraço pra vocês, pessoal. Fiquem com Deus. Olá, Michelle.
Lauren,
beijo pra você. Amo muito você. E fizemos um trabalho bem legal aqui, né? Hoje é o primeiro dia de muitas coisas legais, então tá.
Brady, how's it going, man? Yeah, Lauren Fink. Wow, the prices. Bring home Nick's point that there in the U.S. painting is the American dream. Can start from nothing. That's it. Yes. This is the American dream. When we talk about, have you ever heard of the concept of the American dream?
Only on the movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those concepts. Sean Davis, extremely interesting show today. Thanks for letting me be a fly on the wall. Listen, man, what you're going to experience here in the next 3 weeks is not just a cultural exchange, but legitimately, nothing fires me up more than being around the most substantial people in the industry. And the industry is not Minnesota or the United States. The industry is Qatar, it's Brazil, and it's other stuff. So the things, okay, legitimately, I'm going to say this sentence, Ronie, then I have to shut this off. Otherwise, we'd go on for days.
Yes.
The things that people see this, and they see the posts, and they see the pictures where you and I are, hey, we're at Ronie's hotel room, it's fun. What nobody's ever seen are the conversations with the 8 people that came from all over Brazil, sat at the hotel lobby, and we sat there talking till very early in the morning about our past life stories.
Yes.
That's not live stream. And what happened at those tables with those people, I still think about. There's a lot of things that I've forgotten from Brazil just because I only have so much brain space.
Different language, same background. Yeah. That is crazy.
It's amazing how I didn't understand anything besides a few food words, but yet we're all sitting around this table and you look at somebody's face, and the conversations that we had there legitimately changed my life. So there will be some of those. I wish we could live stream those for people to get the same experience, but it's not translatable to anything else. Yes. You need to be there with those people in their atmosphere and talking about how their fathers treated them.
Yes.
You need to be there, and that's special. So I wish that people here could see that. You won't. That's for me.
Yes.
That's for you.
Yes.
And that's for the people who are going to be there. So, yes, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be good. There's going to be stuff that people don't see that legitimately you have to do stuff like this. You'll never have those experiences.
Yes, it's the word is gratefulness. Gratefulness. Yeah. All the challenges, difficult things. I don't say the bad or good things. The difficult things, the challenging things in life, made me prepared for this. Yeah. You know, us prepared for this purpose, and we know how deep we're talking about this stuff. This is organic part that came from. I love my loved ones with gratefulness now, and all this stuff is related to. And I believe, honestly, genuinely, as you say, if I wouldn't get through this, maybe I would not be here. I would not be doing this.
No,
you know?
that's right. I
Yes.
mean, listen, if my father hadn't have treated me the way he treated me, yours the same way, we wouldn't be who we are doing what we're doing, arguably. So that's just is what it is, and this is going to be 3 deeply meaningful weeks, and it's going to be amazing. And thank you, because this legitimately all happens because of you.
Because of us, yes, no, all of us, I believe.
I didn't do anything to make it happen. I answered a few emails. Once in a while, you bug me, Nick, I need a phone call right now. It's
Right now,
okay,
yes.
done. And I give you the information, and then you go on for 6 more hours of work dealing with this. So, so everybody, Ronnie makes all this happen, and it's going to be a blast. So have a good weekend. We are going to do farm stuff, Ronnie.
Yes, vou pra fazenda agora, viu? Trabalhar na fazenda. Vou me colocar para trabalhar na fazenda. Pessoal, estaremos no Brasil daqui 1 semana, se Deus quiser. Tá bom? Grande abraço para vocês. Daqui a pouco a gente termina isso aí. Guys, thank you very much for your support and being watching with us. All this. All I can do is just share what I've been experiencing in life. So thank you so much for having this opportunity. And hope that it helps your life and becomes something inspirable for you somehow. So this is it. Thank you so much. I'm only grateful.
And how do we say goodbye in Portuguese? Do you just give it the...
You got me.
Boa tarde? Do you give it
good afternoon, okay, adeus. But adeus is like goodbye. What is like goodbye? Is that, it's kind of, okay. Até mais. See you soon. Até mais. Até
That's
mais.
even better.
Até mais.
Thanks,
Pessoal,
everybody.
obrigado, viu? Beijo no
mais.
coração. Mãe, beijinho, tá bom? Vamos lá que agora acabou.